Avocados have been marketed for years as one of the healthiest foods you can add to your diet. They are packed with monounsaturated fats, fiber, potassium, magnesium, and antioxidants that have been shown to support heart health, regulate blood pressure, and nourish the body on a cellular level. For this reason, they are often placed at the center of superfood lists and recommended as a staple of a nutrient-dense diet. But what often gets overlooked is the fact that even a healthy food, when consumed improperly or in excess, can shift from being beneficial to harmful. The human body is designed to thrive on balance, and when a nutrient source is consumed in disproportionate amounts, it can throw off critical metabolic processes that keep energy and hormones in harmony. Avocados are a perfect example of this paradox, where the very properties that make them valuable can become detrimental if taken too far. One of the first things to recognize about avocados is their high caloric density. Unlike fruits such as berries, apples, or melons, avocados are composed largely of fat, with a medium-sized fruit containing more than 20 grams of fat and over 250 calories. These numbers may not sound overwhelming at first glance, but when an individual is eating 1 or 2 avocados per day on top of regular meals, the cumulative impact can quickly tip into an energy surplus. Over time, consistently consuming more calories than the body requires leads to fat storage, and this weight gain often manifests as visceral fat around the abdominal cavity. Visceral fat is particularly dangerous because it is metabolically active, releasing inflammatory molecules and hormones that can interfere with insulin sensitivity and increase the risk of type 2 diabetes and cardiovascular disease. People often assume that because the fat in avocados is healthy fat, the body will use it differently. But metabolism does not discriminate as simply as that. While monounsaturated fats are indeed better for cardiovascular health than saturated fats or trans fats, the body still treats them as energy sources that need to be burned or stored. If the energy is not expended through activity and muscle use, even the most beneficial fats can accumulate in ways that undermine long-term health. The marketing of avocados as a food you can eat endlessly without consequence has created a blind spot in nutritional awareness. Just because a food is natural and nutrient-rich does not mean it is free from the laws of balance and moderation. Another layer of complexity arises from the hormonal effects of consistently high fat intake. Fats are involved in hormone regulation, and when consumed in excess, they can alter signaling pathways related to appetite and satiety. Leptin, the hormone that signals fullness, can become less effective when fat stores increase, creating a cycle in which the body resists the normal signals that should stop us from overeating. This means that eating too many avocados, especially in the context of a modern diet already rich in hidden fats from oils, cheese, and processed foods, can amplify the risk of leptin resistance. Once this cycle begins, individuals may find themselves hungrier, less able to regulate intake, and more likely to consume additional calories without realizing it. This subtle shift in hormonal balance is not immediately obvious, but plays out over years as waistlines expand and energy levels diminish. Avocados also contain a significant amount of omega-6 fatty acids. While omega-6s are essential for health in proper ratios, the modern diet tends to be overloaded with them compared to omega-3 fatty acids, which are found in fish, flax, and chia seeds. This imbalance can drive systemic inflammation, the kind that silently damages blood, vessels, joints, and organs over time. The issue is not that avocados are inherently inflammatory, they are not, but when layered on top of a diet already skewed heavily toward omega-6 dominance, their contribution may tip the scale further in the wrong direction. It is this cumulative effect that often goes unnoticed. Eating an avocado by itself may not cause harm, but daily and unchecked consumption without considering overall fat ratios can contribute to the chronic, low-grade inflammation that underlies many degenerative diseases. Another underappreciated aspect is the digestive burden. Because avocados are rich in fat and fiber, they require more effort for the digestive system to break down compared to lighter fruits and vegetables. In moderation, this is not a problem. In fact, the fiber can support gut health by feeding beneficial bacteria. But when eaten excessively, the density of these nutrients can overwhelm the gut, leading to bloating, diarrhea, or even malabsorption issues in people with sensitive digestive systems. For individuals with conditions such as irritable bowel syndrome, the high levels of sorbitol, a type of sugar alcohol present in avocados, can also exacerbate discomfort. What is often promoted as a creamy, gut-friendly fruit can become a source of gastrointestinal distress when consumed without restraint. The psychological factor tied to avocados also deserves attention. Because of their image as a superfood, many people view them as a free pass food, something that can be eaten in large quantities with no consequences. This mindset is dangerous because it encourages a disregard for portion sizes and balance. It reflects a broader issue in nutrition culture where certain foods are placed on a pedestal while others are demonized, leading to extremes in dietary patterns. The reality is that no single food holds the power to save or destroy health in isolation. What matters is the integration of that food into the overall diet and lifestyle. But when avocados are consumed as though they are exempt from the rules of moderation, they can quietly drive energy imbalance and fat accumulation in the same way processed foods do, albeit more subtly. The risk extends beyond the individual to certain populations who may be more vulnerable. For example, people with compromised kidney function need to carefully manage their potassium intake. Avocados are one of the richest sources of potassium, and eating them in large quantities can elevate blood potassium levels to a dangerous degree, a condition known as hyperkalemia. This can cause heart rhythm disturbances and, in severe cases, cardiac arrest. While this does not apply to everyone, it highlights that even foods regarded as universally healthy may carry risks for specific groups when consumed in excess. A person without kidney disease may tolerate daily avocado intake with little issue, but for someone with impaired function, the same habit could become life-threatening. Cultural and culinary trends have also contributed to this problem. The rise of avocado toast, guacamole bowls, and avocado-based smoothies has normalized the idea of making this fruit a daily centerpiece of meals. Restaurants often serve portions far larger than what would be considered reasonable, and social media amplifies these images, creating a sense that eating multiple avocados per day is not only normal, but aspirational. This normalization of excess distorts public perception, making it harder for individuals to recognize when they may be overdoing it. In truth, 1/2 of a medium avocado provides plenty of nutrients and health benefits without tipping the balance, but this perspective is rarely emphasized in mainstream discussions about diet. Even within healthy eating communities, there is a tendency to chase nutrient density without accounting for total intake. The more, the better mentality leads to a skewed diet where certain foods dominate at the expense of variety. Avocados, because of their creamy texture and versatility, often take center stage while other equally important plant-based foods are pushed aside. This reduces dietary diversity, which is critical for maintaining a resilient gut microbiome and ensuring a wide spectrum of vitamins, minerals, and phytonutrients. The body thrives on diversity, and when too much emphasis is placed on a single miracle food, the result is not optimal health but nutritional imbalance. When all of these factors are taken together, the caloric density, the potential for weight gain, the hormonal effects of excess fat, the omega-6 imbalance, the digestive burden, the psychological free pass mindset, the risks for vulnerable populations, and the cultural normalization of overconsumption, it becomes clear that avocados, while beneficial in moderation, can pose risks when consumed improperly. They illustrate the broader truth that no food exists in a vacuum. The way it is eaten, how much of it is consumed, and the context of the overall diet determine whether it functions as medicine for the body or as a hidden source of harm. Avocados are often considered a symbol of health, but what people rarely think about is how they are combined with other foods. On their own, they contain fiber, healthy fats, and micronutrients that can support the body, but when paired incorrectly, their benefits can be overshadowed or even reversed. A common mistake is spreading avocado on refined white bread. White bread, stripped of fiber and loaded with quickly digestible starches, spikes blood sugar rapidly. The addition of avocado fat slows digestion slightly, but does not prevent the glucose surge that follows. This constant spiking and crashing of blood sugar contributes to insulin resistance, and over time it wears down the body's ability to keep blood sugar stable. Eating avocado toast may feel like a healthy choice, but without considering the type of biarron it can become an invisible driver of metabolic problems. Another popular pairing is guacamole with fried tortilla chips. Here the avocado is combined with refined flour, corn oils, and salt, creating a dish that is calorie-dense and highly inflammatory. The crispiness of chips is usually achieved through deep frying, which means they are saturated with oxidized oils that harm the cardiovascular system. Avocado, in this case, becomes a garnish for processed food rather than a health-promoting fruit. Instead of delivering anti-inflammatory benefits, it is part of a combination that drives inflammation forward, damaging blood vessels and stressing the liver. What is ironic is that many people eat guacamole believing they are doing something good for their bodies, but the chips that carry it undo much of its value. Pairing avocados with processed condiments like mayonnaise, sugary dressings, or cheese-laden sauces further compounds the problem. These additions are high in saturated fats, sugars, and artificial preservatives. When combined with avocado, the total fat and calorie load skyrockets, creating a situation where the body has to process multiple energy-dense inputs at once. This overwhelms metabolic pathways, increases triglyceride levels in the blood, and promotes fat storage in the liver and abdomen. Even the antioxidants and fiber in avocado are not enough to offset the cascade of effects triggered by ultra-processed accompaniments. The combination looks appetizing and may feel indulgent, but it is far removed from the image of a healthy superfood meal. There is also the issue of portion distortion. A small serving of avocado incorporated into a balanced meal can be a supportive nutrient boost, but when combined with calorie-heavy foods, portions often balloon. For example, an oversized burrito stuffed with rice, cheese, sour cream, and a whole avocado and easily exceed the caloric needs of an average person for half a day in a single sitting. This not only encourages weight gain, but also overloads the digestive system, leaving people sluggish and fatigued after meals. What was intended as nourishment becomes a strain on the body, requiring more energy to process than it provides. Beyond calories, the chemical interactions of avocado with certain foods matter. Refined carbohydrates create a sharp rise in glucose, and when eaten alongside fats, they create an environment where the body is more likely to store fat rather than burn it. Insulin, released in response to glucose, acts as a storage hormone, pushing fats into cells. Eating avocado in isolation is less likely to trigger fat storage, but combined with a plate of refined carbs, the fat from avocado is directed into adipose tissue instead of being used as energy. This is why pairing matters. Foods interact with one another inside the body in ways that either enhance or blunt their individual effects. The modern food environment adds another challenge. Convenience meals that feature avocado as a trendy ingredient but are surrounded by unhealthy elements. Prepackaged wraps, fast food sandwiches, and store-bought salads often showcase avocado slices as a sign of freshness, yet they are typically accompanied by refined breads, salty meats, and creamy dressings. This health halo effect tricks consumers into thinking the meal is beneficial when in reality it is an engineered product designed for taste and shelf life rather than genuine nourishment. The avocado becomes a marketing tool more than a health-promoting fruit, and people end up consuming far more sodium, preservatives, and excess calories than they realize. Another overlooked issue is sodium. Many avocado-based dishes, such as guacamole, contain added salt to enhance flavor. When paired with salty chips or processed breads, sodium intake skyrockets. High-sodium diets contribute to hypertension, stiffening of arteries, and increased risk of stroke. The potassium in avocado is often cited as a counterbalance to sodium, but in real-world meals, the sodium content far outweighs the protective benefit. The result is that the very fruit touted as heart-healthy becomes part of a meal that burdens the cardiovascular system instead of protecting it. Psychological perception plays a role here as well. Because avocado is viewed as a health booster, people often justify eating unhealthy companions alongside it. Someone may feel less guilty about eating fried chips or a heavy sandwich simply because avocado is part of the meal. This mental trap allows harmful dietary patterns to persist under the illusion of healthfulness. It is a classic case of adding a single nutrient-rich food into an otherwise damaging diet and expecting it to cancel out the negative effects. Unfortunately, the body does not work that way. Healthy components cannot neutralize the harms of unhealthy ones when consumed together in large amounts. The effect on digestion also cannot be ignored. Heavy combinations of avocado with processed starches, dairy, or fried foods create meals that are difficult to break down. The body expends significant effort producing bile and enzymes to handle the fat load while also managing rapid sugar absorption. This dual demand can result in digestive discomfort, bloating, or sluggishness. Over time, repeated exposure to such meals may disrupt gut microbiota balance, creating a less diverse and less resilient digestive environment. The gut, which plays a central role in immunity and inflammation regulation, suffers when meal combinations stress it beyond its natural capacity. These patterns become even more concerning when they are habitual. A person eating avocado toast daily with refined bread or guacamole with chips several times per week is consistently placing the body in a metabolic environment that encourages fat storage, inflammation, and vascular stress. The équation. Accumulation of these small daily choices leads to long-term outcomes like obesity, diabetes, fatty liver disease, and cardiovascular complications. Each meal may feel insignificant on its own, but the repetition of unhealthy combinations silently builds a foundation for chronic disease. It is not the avocado itself that is the culprit, but the way it is consumed in the modern diet. Without mindfulness, its benefits are undermined by the very foods it is paired with. This is why some people who believe they are eating healthfully by including avocado may not see the positive results they expect. They may even experience the opposite, weight gain, fatigue, and worsening markers of health because they have unknowingly turned a nutrient-rich fruit into a carrier for processed and harmful foods. The influence of culture and social trends further complicates the matter. The popularity of avocado-based meals on social media glamorizes large, indulgent portions filled with refined carbohydrates and heavy sauces. These images spread widely, shaping perceptions of what is normal and acceptable to eat. People replicate these meals at home without realizing that they are adopting habits that look healthy on the surface but are detrimental underneath. The disconnect between perception and reality widens, leaving many confused about why their health does not improve despite including superfoods in their diet. The bigger picture is that every food interacts within a system. Avocados are not consumed in isolation. They are part of meals and dietary patterns. When those patterns are dominated by processed foods, unhealthy fats, and refined carbohydrates, the avocado cannot undo the damage. Instead, it becomes absorbed into the same unhealthy cycle, its value diluted and even reversed. The real danger lies in the illusion of health created by these combinations, because people continue harmful habits while believing they are doing something good for their bodies. One of the most overlooked dangers when it comes to avocados is the way ripeness and storage can influence their safety. Why? Unlike fruits that can remain edible for longer periods even when slightly bruised, avocados are highly perishable. Once they pass their peak ripeness, they begin to degrade rapidly, and the flesh can develop brown spots, mushy textures, or even visible mold on the surface. Many people treat this as a cosmetic issue, cutting away the damaged portion and eating the rest. But the problem is deeper than what is visible to the eye. Molds and bacteria often penetrate below the surface, and toxins produced during spoilage can spread throughout the fruit. Mycotoxins, for instance, are harmful compounds that certain molds generate, and they are not confined to the visibly moldy portion. These toxins can weaken immune defenses, disrupt gut health, and place stress on the liver, a crucial organ responsible for detoxification. Consuming even small amounts repeatedly over time can accumulate harm in ways that are not immediately felt but manifest later as chronic fatigue, immune sensitivity, or digestive issues. The danger of spoiled avocados is not limited to mold alone. As the fruit breaks down, enzymatic processes release compounds that can irritate the digestive tract. The unpleasant taste and odor are signals the body has evolved to recognize as warnings, but many people ignore them because of the assumption that a little bad spot won't hurt. This casual approach underestimates the power of microbial contamination. In individuals with robust immune systems, the body may fight off these challenges with mild symptoms like nausea or stomach upset, but for those who are elderly, immunocompromised, or managing chronic conditions, the risk escalates. What seems like a minor discomfort for one person could become a serious infection for another. Storage practices play a huge role in whether avocados remain safe to eat. Because of their delicate nature, they are often left on countertops to ripen, which exposes them to fluctuating temperatures and airborne microbes. Once cut, the fruit becomes even more vulnerable. Exposure to air accelerates oxidation, causing the flesh to turn brown, but what is less visible is the proliferation of bacteria on the exposed surface. If the avocado is then stored improperly in a refrigerator without being sealed, it can become a breeding ground for microbial growth. Many households are unaware that avocados left out for hours after cutting can harbor harmful bacteria even if they still appear edible. This risk multiplies when avocados are served at gatherings, buffets, or restaurants where they are pre-sliced or mashed and then left sitting out for extended periods. Listeria and Salmonella, two pathogens commonly associated with foodborne illness, have been detected on avocado skins. While most people rinse fruits like apples or berries before eating, avocados are often sliced without washing, allowing whatever is on the skin to be transferred directly into the flesh by the knife. Because the skin is rough and porous, it can trap bacteria, pesticides, or dirt, which only increases the risk of contamination. Once introduced into the fruit, these bacteria have access to nutrient-rich flesh that allows them to multiply quickly, particularly if the cut avocado is not consumed immediately. What follows is not just a risk of minor food poisoning, but potentially serious illness, especially in those who are more vulnerable. Spoiled or contaminated avocados are not always easy to detect. While severe mold growth and a foul odor are obvious signs, sometimes the fruit may look normal but still harbor unseen dangers. Certain bacteria do not always alter appearance, smell, or taste. This means that relying solely on the senses to judge safety can be misleading. It is why food safety experts stress the importance of proper washing, storage, and prompt consumption rather than trusting intuition alone. Avocados that have been pre-packaged or pre-sliced for sale carry particular risks, as they often sit in plastic containers where condensation and warmth can create ideal conditions for microbial growth. Consumers assume these packaged products are safe because they are sealed, but in reality, the longer they sit on shelves, the greater the potential danger. The issue also extends to supply chains. Avocados often travel long distances from farms to supermarkets. During transport, they may be stored in conditions that are less than ideal, sometimes in temperatures that fluctuate or in containers exposed to contamination. By the time they reach consumers, they may already have been subjected to stress that accelerates spoilage. Even if they appear fresh at purchase, their shelf life at home can be much shorter than expected. For this reason, the risks tied to improper handling and storage are not just personal choices, but systemic factors that affect every step from harvest to consumption. When considering how avocados are commonly consumed, another layer of risk emerges. At social events, guacamole or avocado slices are often left out for hours at room temperature. This creates a situation where bacteria can multiply unchecked. The creamy, fatty texture of avocado provides an ideal medium for bacterial growth, much like dairy-based dips or mayonnaise. When combined with people frequently dipping chips or utensils, cross-contamination becomes inevitable. The longer the dish remains exposed, the greater the bacterial load, increasing the risk for everyone who eats it. What feels like a harmless indulgence at a party can turn into an outbreak of foodborne illness affecting multiple people at once. Even in the home setting, many individuals underestimate how quickly cut avocado deteriorates. Some cover it loosely in plastic wrap or leave it in a container with onion to slow browning, believing it is still safe for several days. While these methods may reduce oxidation and preserve appearance, they do not halt bacterial growth. An avocado that has been cut and stored for more than a day or two is no longer at its peak of safety. Yet because the browning can be removed with a knife, people assume the rest is fine. This mindset ignores the invisible threats of microbial contamination, which can thrive beneath a surface that looks otherwise fresh. The risks of consuming spoiled or improperly handled avocados highlight a larger truth about food safety. Fresh produce carries immense benefits, but it also comes with vulnerabilities that require respect and careful handling. Unlike processed foods, which are preserved with chemicals and sealed for long shelf life, natural foods like avocados demand attentiveness. They should be washed before cutting, stored properly after opening, and consumed promptly to minimize risks. Failure to do so creates opportunities for pathogens and toxins to infiltrate the diet, eroding the very health people are trying to protect by eating these foods. The most troubling aspect is that these risks are not widely understood. Avocados are marketed as a luxury fruit and presented with a health halo, so the potential downsides of spoilage and contamination are rarely emphasized. People assume they can eat them without precaution, leading to casual handling that would never be accepted for foods like meat or dairy. Yet the potential for illness is just as real. The perception of safety shields people from recognizing the need for better habits, allowing unsafe practices to persist unnoticed. This gap between perception and reality is where the danger lies, because what people don't know or pay attention to can harm them more than what they do. Avocados are often enjoyed raw, sliced, and served fresh, which makes them highly vulnerable to contamination once they are exposed to the environment. As soon as the fruit is cut open, its protective skin is gone, and the soft, nutrient-rich flesh becomes a prime surface for oxidation and microbial growth. While browning from oxidation may appear to be the main issue, the great Our danger lies in the unseen proliferation of bacteria that thrive at room temperature. When slices of avocado are served in buffets, salad bars, or gatherings where they remain uncovered for extended periods, they become a medium where harmful pathogens can multiply. The warmth of a crowded room and the constant handling of shared utensils only add to the risk, and in such conditions, the fruit quickly shifts from being nutritious to hazardous. The outer skin of an avocado, though inedible, plays a critical role in its safety before cutting. Unfortunately, this rough and textured surface can harbor pathogens such as Listeria and Salmonella. Because most people assume that the peel will be discarded, they do not wash the fruit before slicing into it. What they overlook is that the knife used to cut the avocado passes directly through the contaminated skin and into the edible flesh, carrying bacteria along with it. Once inside, these microorganisms find the perfect environment in the creamy, high-fat interior to grow rapidly. What might look like a clean, freshly cut avocado may already be compromised at the very moment it is prepared. Pre-sliced avocados sold in stores or restaurants pose even greater hazards. These products are often cut and packaged hours or even days before consumption. While preservatives may slow oxidation and maintain a green appearance, they do not eliminate bacterial contamination. Once packaged, condensation forms inside containers, creating a moist environment that accelerates bacterial growth. By the time the consumer opens the package, the avocado may look visually appealing, but could harbor harmful levels of bacteria. Because people trust sealed packaging, they rarely question its safety, yet outbreaks of foodborne illness have been linked to pre-cut fruits across the world, and avocados are no exception. In social settings, the problem grows. Avocado-based dishes like guacamole are often served at parties and gatherings where they sit out for hours. Unlike hot foods that may remain in warming trays or cold foods stored on ice, guacamole is frequently left at room temperature. This creates the ideal conditions for bacterial multiplication. Each time a chip, spoon, or piece of bread dips into the dish, new microorganisms are introduced. This cross-contamination accelerates bacterial spread, meaning that by the end of the event, the dish has transformed into something very different from the fresh preparation that began. While most people will not notice immediately, symptoms such as nausea, stomach cramps, or diarrhea may appear hours later, and multiple guests can be affected at once, turning a simple gathering into an outbreak. Another overlooked concern is the role of storage after cutting. Many people slice avocados, use part of the fruit, and then place the remainder in the refrigerator, loosely wrapped or stored in plastic containers. Although refrigeration slows bacterial growth, it does not stop it entirely. Within 24 to 48 hours, even a partially eaten avocado can harbor unsafe levels of bacteria. Browning may be cut away, but this cosmetic fix does not remove underlying contamination. In fact, the practice of scraping away the top layer and consuming the rest can be particularly risky because bacteria penetrate deeper than the surface. People often rely on sight and smell as indicators of freshness, yet harmful microorganisms are not always detectable through these senses. The challenge intensifies when avocados are used in large-scale food preparation. Restaurants, catering services, and food manufacturers often prepare avocados in bulk, cutting and storing them in advance. While commercial kitchens may have food safety protocols, lapses in hygiene, temperature, control, or timing can allow contamination to occur. A single contaminated batch can reach dozens or hundreds of people before being identified. Because avocados are eaten raw rather than cooked, there is no opportunity for heat to kill bacteria, unlike with meats or cooked vegetables. This makes every stage of handling critical, from farm to table, yet consumers rarely think about this invisible chain of risk when enjoying a meal. Avocados also face the problem of being handled by multiple people before they are even purchased. From workers during harvest to supermarket staff stocking shelves to customers squeezing the fruit to check ripeness, each touch increases the possibility of contamination. Unlike fruits with thick, smooth skins that are easier to clean thoroughly, the textured skin of avocados traps dirt and microbes in its grooves. Without careful washing before slicing, those microbes can easily make their way inside. The perception that avocados are inherently safe because of their outer skin is misleading, and it contributes to the casual way many people handle and consume them. In addition to bacteria, there is the issue of chemical contamination. Avocados, like many commercial crops, are treated with pesticides and other chemicals to protect them during growth and transport. These residues can linger on the skin and be transferred inward during cutting if the fruit is not washed properly. Although the amounts may be small, consistent exposure over time adds to the body's toxic load, placing extra strain on detoxification pathways. For individuals already burdened by environmental toxins, the cumulative effect can contribute to subtle health issues such as hormonal imbalances, immune dysfunction, or metabolic disturbances. Washing the fruit before use is a simple precaution, yet many people neglect it under the mistaken belief that peeling eliminates the risk. The popularity of avocados in trendy diets and social media culture has amplified these risks by increasing the frequency and variety of ways the fruit is consumed. They are used in smoothies, salads, sandwiches, wraps, and dips, often prepared in ways that involve pre-slicing or prolonged exposure to air. In pursuit of convenience and visual appeal, the natural vulnerabilities of the fruit are overlooked. Avocado halves displayed attractively on buffets or smoothie bowls may look appealing, but are often sitting out long enough for safety to become questionable. This disconnect between appearance and microbial reality is a dangerous blind spot that leaves consumers vulnerable. Even at home, many people underestimate the importance of hygiene when preparing avocados. Cutting boards and knives used for raw meats or unwashed produce may also be used for avocados, creating cross-contamination risks. If utensils are not thoroughly cleaned, pathogens like E. coli can be transferred into the fruit. Because avocados are typically eaten raw, there is no step that eliminates these bacteria afterward. The combination of high fat content, soft texture, and lack of cooking means that once contaminated, an avocado becomes a direct vehicle for pathogens into the digestive system. The potential consequences of these oversights range from mild digestive discomfort to severe illness. While healthy individuals may recover quickly from a bout of foodborne illness, the elderly, young children, and people with weakened immune systems are at far greater risk. For them, what seems like a minor oversight in handling an avocado can lead to hospitalization or worse. These risks are amplified by the fact that the fruit is consumed raw and often served in communal or high-traffic environments where contamination is more likely. Despite their reputation as a superfood, avocados require careful handling and consumption to ensure they remain safe. The lack of awareness about washing, storage, and exposure times creates vulnerabilities that are easy to overlook but dangerous to ignore. The same qualities that make avocados appealing, their freshness, softness, and versatility, are also what make them fragile and susceptible to contamination. The gap between their health image and their practical risks leaves many consumers unprepared to protect themselves, creating situations where something celebrated as nourishing can instead be a hidden threat.